Hey, what's going on, guys? The time has finally come. HunterXHunter is officially back. And today we're going to be talking about Chapter 401. Now, as expected, with the return of HunterXHunter, we got a nice colored page right here. This one is of Morena and the Black Whale boat, which looks really nice. I always thought Morena had blonde hair, by the way. I'm kind of surprised to see that she has darker hair, but yeah, there it is. Now, before we actually get into the meat of the chapter itself, I want to talk about the end of Chapter 400. Because it leads into Chapter 401, and it was a little bit cryptic at the time. Now, at the end of Chapter 400, we see Longi, one of Prince Tubeppa's bodyguards, saying that she can already use Nen. And I quote, "I can already use Nen. We can skip the water divination." She then says, "After hearing the details, do you consent to the contract?" And Kurapika says, "I consent. I'll join hands with the 5th Prince Tubeppa." Now, this was a little bit cryptic at the time because we had no idea what were the details of this contract and how it came about. Well, now we're finally going to get that explanation. Now, Furikov is hoping that Longi will take out Prince Wobble at some point. Longi then explains why she's come to Kurapika's meetings and activates her ability, which is called Transparent Words Moonlight Act. Now, it's a conditional manipulative power. The target must willingly sign a contract, which can either grant power or restrict actions. Now, because of these severe restrictions, Longi has to explain everything fully without lying before getting a signature. Now, this contract will result in cooperation with Prince Tubeppa. But here's the interesting fact. Tubeppa doesn't know that Longi is a Nen user. So it's not even really in Tubeppa's best interest that this contract is being signed. It's more or less a safeguard for Longi's true plan. Now, of course, Kurapika is a little bit skeptical about this. He doesn't know what to make of the situation. So he pulls out his gun and starts using his dowsing chain to get some answers. But Longi assures him that he'll give him extra power to help out with the quote-unquote true plan. And she will explain everything before he signs the contract. Now, here's where the whole arc takes a turn, guys. This is a huge moment. Longi admits that she's beyond Netero's daughter. And just like that, the entire succession contest is being flipped on its head. But wait, it gets even more juicy than that. So, roughly about 30 years ago, Beyond recruited Kakin's young high-ranking soldiers and set up fake marriages. Now, the children from these marriages, including Longi, were in fact Netero's sons and daughters. But they were subsequently raised as soldier kids for the Kakin Empire. And essentially, this whole process was repeated time and time again with the birth of every new Kakin prince. So soldiers within each prince's quarters are actually working for Beyond Netero. So it's pretty obvious to see that Netero is trying to take a hold of the Kakin Empire from the inside. Now, they all became royal guards and aides to the princes, and because they were Beyond Netero's offspring, they all had Nen abilities from birth. However, there was a side effect to Beyond's Nen attack, and that's because he placed a curse on them. Now, it's thanks to Longi's sister, Mahaka, that she was able to figure this out. Now, it was after the Seed Urn ritual that they began to understand what was going on. Now, it turns out that all the siblings of Beyond were marked with seals. Curses, if you will. And each curse has a terrifying dark Nen that activates upon death. Longi then instructs Kurapika to use Gyo to take a closer look at her mouth. And there, upon the backside of her tongue, we see a terrifying Nen curse. Now, the user of the Nen curse claims that she's a quote-unquote appetizing sacrifice. To put it simply, Longi is being used. In fact, they're all being used. They're being bred to assassinate a specific target. That's kind of interesting because the second prince, Camilla, specifically has a Nen ability that does that very thing. It's called Cat's Name, and every time that she dies, the cat kills the target and then sucks out the life force and resurrects Camilla. But in this scenario, Longi says that she's one of the 10 strong curse sacrifices, and another 10 or so serve as quote-unquote weak curse sacrifices. And with all these quote-unquote sacrifices, their job was meant to kill the Kakin princes. So it's a little bit different than Camilla's ability. Camilla's ability allows her to get resurrected, whereas this one, once they die, they basically serve as like a suicidal bomber that will kill one of the Kakin princes. Now, what's the end goal of this? Why does Beyond Netero want to kill the Kakin princes? And Kurapika has a conclusion. He thinks that Beyond is working with Kakin's inner circle to secure Prince Benjamin's succession. But that's not quite right. And this is the second big reveal of the chapter, arguably the biggest reveal. Longi believes that one of the princes is actually Beyond's child. And this is where the wild goose chase begins, folks, because now we have to look at all the 14 princes, well, at least the ones that are still alive, which is 12 at the moment, and determine which one could be Beyond's child. And this is huge because if Beyond is successful, if he eliminates all the princes and his child is a resulting winner, then he can control the entire Kakin Empire. All its people, resources, military, everything. And it all makes sense because if he brings the entire military and the entire Kakin Empire to the Dark Continent, he has a better chance of surviving and learning all its secrets and finding all its treasures. So remember the original plan of the Black Whale boat? It was going to stop at a continent and make the people believe that this was the Dark Continent. Most of the passengers were going to be dropped off here, but Beyond and the Zodiacs were going to go to the real Dark Continent. Well, it's very possible that if Beyond's child wins the succession contest, that's not going to happen. That he's going to take the entire boat to the Dark Continent and try to set up maybe like a pseudo-empire. I mean, who knows? Now, this seems a little bit suspicious because Beyond Netero's child would not be a blood relative of Nasubi, so they shouldn't be eligible for the Succession War contest. However, Oito confirms that they do not need to be a blood-related relative to participate in the contest. They just need to be considered a quote-unquote legitimate child of Nasubi's wife. Now, the agreement between Kurapika and Tubeppa states that they will not attack or interfere with each other's princes, queens, or soldiers. The contract extends automatically if Tubeppa's representative shows up in room 1014 by 9 a.m. next Sunday. If this is broken for any reason, the punishment is a week of enforced Zetsu. Now, by working together, they're going to find out who Beyond's child is. And they need to do this before Tubeppa withdraws from the contest, or until only 2 princes remain. Now, Longi's real goal is to find out and personally kill Beyond's child. Now, interesting little detail here, if Beyond explained everything to her earlier, she wouldn't have minded being used like this. It's just the fact that she's being kept in the dark, which is sort of leading her on her current course. Now, afterwards, Furikov is a little bit confused by this situation. He's troubled by the fact that Longi, who was once thought to be an assassin, no longer seems like one. Now, Kurapika tells the class that there was a delay due to peace talks, and that no agreement has been reached as of right now. However, Furikov doesn't buy this explanation. Frustrated by the predicament, he jokes about wanting to transfer to a different class. We then transfer over to Beyond, who we haven't seen for quite some time, and we see that he's being watched by Kanzai at the moment. They banter back and forth for a bit before Beyond says, "There's someone I want to talk to. Can you bring them to me?" And with that, guys, that's the end of chapter 401. And my god, what a banger of a chapter. I mean, Togashi brings us back in style and just throws the entire succession contest on its frickin' head. Now it's no longer a battle between the 14 princes. It's a battle with the 14 princes and Beyond controlling one of the princes behind the scenes. Now there's going to be a lot of speculation in the coming days and weeks about who is Beyond's actual child. I think a lot of people are going to speculate that it's Serednik. That's kind of the go-to answer. He's a savant using Nen. He's incredibly dangerous. He's vicious. He loves killing people. He has 2 Guardian Sacred Beasts, so he definitely has a huge Nen reservoir, and he has a lot of talent to boot. But it almost seems too obvious to be true. Now on Reddit, a lot of people are speculating that the 13th prince, Miriam, might be Beyond's son. Now the reason that they're speculating this is because the Guardian Spirit Beast feed off of the Nen aura of their host. So, for example, when Serednik went into a state of Zetsu, his Guardian Spirit Beast completely disappeared. Now because of this, we have to consider something very important. The more Nen aura that a user has, the stronger their Guardian Sacred Beast is going to be. Now one of the interesting things about Miriam is that his Guardian Spirit Beast continues to grow in size. Now presumably, he doesn't know Nen whatsoever. This would really only make sense if he had this huge well of aura if his father was Beyond. Now why do I say this? Well, Momozi, his sister, ended up getting very tired when her aura was depleted. He, on the other hand, has shown no signs of fatigue. And not only that, his Guardian Spirit Beast continues to get larger and larger. I mean, just look at this picture in chapter 372. It's absolutely massive. Not only has it increased in size, but it's fiercer and it's bulked up as well. It's a freaking dragon yoked out of his mind. So it's not concrete evidence by any means, but it's at least a clue that leads us in that direction. And from Beyond's perspective, who would you rather have as the future king of Kakin? Someone like Prince Benjamin, who is very rigid in his beliefs? Or someone like Prince Miriam, who is very easily manipulated, and someone you can make decisions for behind the scenes? Basically have him as a proxy king. But anyway, hopefully we'll find out more answers in the following chapters. But anyway, it seems like Melody and the princes are going to make their move in the next episode. And I am absolutely loving it, guys, but tell me what you guys thought of Chapter 401, and I'll see you when Chapter 402 comes out.